Friends, welcome back to Mini Kit Monday. I'm kind of excited about my master plan this week. So what I am doing is I'm going to use a scrap lift from Scrap Squad, and I'll put that right here. And I'm also kind of in the middle of some challenges over at Mind the Scrap, and there's a pick 5. So each week there's 5 different things we need to use. So this time I have to use dotty paper, diagonal design. Not sure how that's going to go. Don't know if diagonal design is going to happen. A title starting with D, a doily, and distressing. So the sketch or the scrap lift there, you see those distressed edges. So that's going to be easy. And the photo I'm using here is this selfie shot of my daughter and her friend right after hot yoga. So they were melting. It's great. It's good stuff for them. And I'm going to be using, oh, somebody is making my lamp move. I'm going to be using these 3 photos as these 3 pattern papers for the tags, and I'm just going to vary them. And I showed you my photo. And then these will be the 12 by 12 papers I use, and I guess that's about it. So I'm going to grab a doily, find a way to work that in. I think the only thing I don't know if I can get a D in here. We're going to see how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and voice over the next bits so we can get a little traction here. Here we go. Wish me luck. So I can tell you that this layout was really fun to make. Did not end up with any kind of a diagonal design, and that's okay. You know, we're supposed to be inspired by the challenges that we come up with, and the scrap lift was inspiring, so I already had a lot going on, but I did end up really loving the way this layout came out. So what I'm doing right there is I'm cutting some of these 12 by 12 papers for the distressed edges that are on the sides of the layout that you see there in the scrap lift. I was having a hard time finding my words. Okay, so on this black and white, it's kind of like dotty paper. I'm distressing the edges there, so that's helping me with one of my D's. And then I have this pink, it's kind of like textury distress papers by Heidi Swapp, and then I will have the black uneven lines, like imperfect lines that I will use, and I'll be able to layer them all up, and it's pretty darn easy. Scuff up the edges, and that part of the layout, like that piece of the design, comes together super easy. So that's lined up, and I was using my Tonic Studios Tim Holtz board, so it has the 12 by 12 grid on it. Made it really, really easy to line up my papers and turn them into an appropriate 12 by 12. Now I'm cutting up these, I think I did them in 2.5-inch strips. These 6 by 6 pattern papers that are the basis of my kit. I'm going ahead and cutting them up, and I will turn them into rectangles, not necessarily tags, but I went rectangly with it, and you'll see it does a lot of nice bright color on a background that already has 3 pattern papers. So what does that make? 3, 4, 5, 6 different pattern papers will end up being the base of this entire layout. It's pretty cool. I went ahead and trimmed my photo, and you see I did those, I believe they're 2.5 by 3, my little blocks there. Sorry, always a little coffee break. I remembered that I had to try to get a doily on this, so I decided to just kind of splat that right on. It's not measured, it's ish, which is perfectly fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and get these little colored blocks into a what am I trying to say? A grid pattern. And the cool thing is I have that board I'm using, right? But then I just go ahead and use these little dotted lines pretty much for my pretty much to guide my layout. Usually I'd have to fight a lot more with my little T-square ruler, which I love my T-square. Nobody's going to be mean about my T-square ruler. Anyway, so I'm going to pop this on, the doilies on, and with all of that pattern, all that going on, a nice size photo, this will end up coming together so quickly. So I start by, with my photo, I want to go ahead and get it matted up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and use this Distress Heidi Swap. It's somewhere between pink and orchid, so it's pretty and gorgeous and wonderful and all those kind of things. So I'm going to go ahead and mat my photo with that, just so that it has just a little bit of differentiation from the background papers. I do have it printed with a white border around it as well. So I decided that I need to get another pop of that black, and since I do have the scrap right here, it makes that ever so easy. I've been doing my absolute best to use up as much of the papers at least in the kits as I can. I always try to go pretty embellishment heavy, but I'm pretty convinced that my paper grows on its own when I'm not watching. Like, I never seem to really use it up. I don't know what's going on there, which must mean that I craft slower than what I buy. That's got to be what it means. I mean, you buy like a few different 12 by 12 paper pads, and you probably don't ever have to buy paper again. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are fortunate and we end up getting a lot. So what you see me doing right there is I'm scuffing up the edges a little bit on my torn papers, which gives it a little bit more of a look like in the scrap lift that I'm using. See, just a little scuffy, no big deal. That's giving me that the distressing that I wanted to be able to use in this, which is part of what makes it cool. Is I'm following a scrap lift, but I'm also getting the other challenge from Mind the Scrap with the scrap lift in. So now it's time to figure out a title. So these are some of the supplies I have for my kit, and I'm trying to come up with something that's going to inspire me. It's going to take me a minute, I can tell you. Now, I know I wanted to use the circular feel of the doily, and I also knew that I wouldn't be able to, the first time around, get my title correctly placed. So I'm using just a little piece of wax paper, which is well used and well loved, since I'll use the same one for months, to just get the feel for where my title is supposed to start, going around well, it's almost a full circle, but going around the circle of the doily piece there. So it's going to read dedicated to sweat, and I'm not going to make you sit there and watch the whole thing because it's a tiny bit laborious. And voila, due to the wonders of film, I have the title on there, and those I believe are some Pink Fresh Puffy stickers. I got them a little while ago in a kit, and they are fantastic, and the colors just so happen to match these papers that I am using beautifully. They really are a nice match. So I'm just using some of those cute little icons, since this is just kind of a silly picture my daughter sent me. And you know, when you can use these kind of offbeat these elements that we're getting right now in scrapbook kits, it's fantastic, because I mean, you'll end up with a llama riding a bicycle wearing a crown. Like, what are you going to use it for? I don't know. Just, if it's a cute, fun layout, get it on there. So I'm not going to be doing anything terribly different than what you see here. Oh, those are little chipboard pieces that are holographic that came on my chipboard sheet. They are sticky enough to stay on the sheet, not sticky enough to stay on your layout. Anywho, so what I was saying is I have been finding myself just popping on these funnier pieces, like pieces that don't necessarily make sense, more and more, because if it's just something cute and whimsical, it's the time to use that stuff up. I mean, you can use stars and hearts and all that kind of stuff on almost anything. So you see that I'm holding the nozzle of the Heidi Swap Color Shine up pretty darn high. This is just the gold, because I wanted really dramatic splatty bits, splats. So that is the way that I can do that. I have all these, my background paper is dotty paper, so I needed some dramatic looking splats so that they would really show up. So there is thought process behind that, I promise you. Okay, so what else? Oh, if you want to like and subscribe, please go ahead below. I would certainly appreciate that. And if you want to be notified when a layout goes live, that is great too. If you have any comments, ask them below and I'll get back to you ASAP. And yeah, that's a business side. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye bye now.